Well, how many parents can relate to this? You have this sweet little boy or girl, and then they enter their teenage years, and they become absolute monsters that you don't even recognize. We'll talk about that with America's Teenologist next on The Jeff Crilley Show.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show. Welcome to my show. Well, so many parents are now in quarantine or hunkering down with their teenage kids, and that is bringing some families together, and it's dividing other families. To talk about that right now, Dr. Beth Halbert, she's known as America's Teenologist. Dr. Beth, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Jeff. So glad to be here.
Yes. Well, I know you coach parents and teens across the country on getting along and dealing with those, crazy years of being a teen. What are you experiencing from your own clients when it comes to the pandemic?
I call it big mixed feelings. It's been a little bit wild and totally crazy. I do a power hour on Tuesdays, and this last week it looked like a crisis match. Like, who is in the biggest crisis today, from police to people wanting to leave their families to it's really intense. So the domestic violence, the parents fighting the kids, the parents fighting the system. It's a little wild out there, Jeff.
Well, I want to know how you got to be America's Teenologist. How did that name get given to you?
Well, normally you'll see me in my ball cap, and I am the biggest teenager on the planet. If it's not fun, it doesn't get done. And I'm really, really serious about that. So if I'm not having a good time, it's that dog don't hunt. And I really walk my talk. So when it started not being fun for a couple of years, I went under the covers. And I'm like, if I can't do what I do unless this is really fun. And I call it a win, and a win. Everybody has to feel great about life. Nobody gets to be used. Nobody gets to be taken advantage of, not even me. So, and that's when my inner teenager comes out. And somebody said, you're running your business like a teenager. And I don't know where I came up with the word teenologist, but years ago, probably 15 years ago on Mom's The Word Radio, I think they coined it. America's Teenologist, and it's stuck, and everybody's picked it up. It's a psychologist for teens, parents of teens, and what most people don't understand is the inner teenager, and that's the one that really kicks us in the tail.
Absolutely. You wrote a best-selling book a few years ago called Embracing Defiance, Helping Your Child Express Their Unique Voice While Keeping Your Sanity. We've got a picture of you holding up your book cover. Tell us more about that book and what encouraged you to write it.
Well, it's so funny, Jeff. I actually had this book in me 20 plus years ago, and I hired 3 different ghostwriters to help me write it, and they were all parents. And as I would start to talk about the book, they got into so much of their own material that we really couldn't get through the book. So finally, Alicia Dunham's, she pulled this book out of me, and this was in 2011. It's a Mom's Choice Award winning book. It has my 10 keys to compassion, and it also has my inner family. So the inner family is the emotional developmental stages that we all go through and we relate from. So you may be talking to my super 7-year-old, dun da da da, which is my little perfectionistic part of me, or you could be talking to my teenager, hey, what up? Or you could be talking to my little inner 3-year-old who's scared to death and oh my gosh, are we going to die and what's happening next? Or quite possibly you might get to meet my divine wise self. And that's the one that holds it all together and takes care of me inside and brings the love outside.
Yes. Well, I know you're doing a lot of Zoom calls these days, but when we're not social distancing, you're out on the road and you're speaking to different groups all the time. We've got a little video of you in front of an audience. I know you use a combination of charisma, stories, information, and laughter. Talk about your speaking style and why you do it.
So, again, probably fun is my most important aspect. And because I think that's where we really get to the juice of life. And if we're just doing it to look good, be good, most of us are going to be done with that. And I can't trust your yes unless I can trust your no. So I want to make sure you can tell me and be your authentic self. And that usually comes out in playfulness, profound playfulness, fun. So that's why I do it. It's how we get integrated. My master's was from Vanderbilt in human resource development. And one of the words that my favorite $10,000 word was recursive. And that's like a play within a play within a play within a play, a parent within a parent within a parent. And it's really critical that whatever we're doing in life, it's like a wall of mirrors.
Wow, I love that. There was a testimonial video on your YouTube channel that I pulled, so we're going to roll that right now.
So what do you think about tonight?
You guys, Fusion family, we just had a community education night with Dr. Beth, and I think she's created a few more raving fans, and we all know what that means. So what she did for our families was focus on a couple topics. She's the master of understanding defiance in children and teens, and today we focused a little bit about how that shows up with tech and technology with our kids. And though we talked about all of that and our parents were really searching for what's the one thing to do, what's the one thing I haven't tried, what she was able to communicate while razzle-dazzling the audience, and she was fantastic, was that it comes down to communication. And as we all know from MRG, communication is key. So what our parents took away was they can be wonderful parents. They can have wonderful conversations and relationships with their students. They can understand what their children are going through. They can understand where the defiance is coming from if they start with questions. If they start with the relationship, and that's what we do at Fusion, right? We individualize, we want to figure out what's going on there, and then figure out how to treat it. And by asking really specific questions and going at it in a really specific way. So if you want to talk to me about Dr. Beth, what she can do for your school and your community, your parents and your students, give me a ring.
And your name is?
Sarah Nante from Fusion Academy, Walnut Creek.
Woo, 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 and you rock.
I can tell you, Dr. Beth, you really capture audiences and get to their problems. I think one of the things that you do really well is you're concrete. So many experts run around and they give, ideas, but there's no real substance. And you've walked the walk.
I actually had 9 people living in my house for 3.5 years. My mom, my partner, my cousin, her partner, and their 3 kids from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and a teenager from 15 to 18. Woo woo! And we're all alive, alive, kicking and well. But I had to have all of my material go through the mill at that point. Let's see if this Dr. Beth stuff really works.
Yes. Well, tell people how they can engage you. If somebody wants your help, what do they do?
The best thing to do is peruse my website. If you go to drbeth.com, there's a tab. There's so many tabs, so much free material. But if you'll go to the free stuff, You'll get access to my book. I give my book away in e-copy. You also can have a parenting quiz. I have another book that if it's not fun, it doesn't get done, and it's all about the interfamily chart and the 10 keys. And then I have a double dog dare community. And in this community, I give away a ton of other resources. And my goal, my vision is to bring all the puzzle pieces together so that all boats rise, so that we can have fun getting through this crazy, crazy, horrific time. And I'm actually having a blast.
Well, it sure shows. And thank you for your wisdom and passing it on. We're going to leave this segment with your website. It's drbeth.com. Thank you so much, Dr. Beth, for everything you're doing in the world.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.